Hello, it's Ranger Melissa. Happy Glacier Science Day. You might be wondering why I'm standing here on the side of Camas Road looking at these long skinny tubes that go across the road. Have you ever seen these where you live or here in the park? Or maybe you felt the bump when you go over them in your car. Well, these are this is a car counter, and today we are going to learn from social scientists why they use this and other counters like trail counters, bike counters, and river counters in order to track visitor use here in the park. And why do they track that use? What do park managers do with that data? So stick with us. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to learn all about visitor use in the park. All right, here we are. We're at the Apgar Lookout Trailhead, and it's a beautiful day in Glacier National Park. It's sunny. It's going to be a high of 84 degrees Fahrenheit today. Right now we're looking at about 70 degrees, and we're going to learn more about visitor use patterns in the park, what all the trail counters get, what kind of data it gets, and we're going to find out by talking to our special guest, Iree Wheeler, who's from the University of Montana in the College of Forestry and Conservation. And so we're going to head down the trail, we're going to meet up with her and find out all about the social science research being conducted in the park. Let's go!
Oh, hello.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
Happy Glacier Science Day. Thanks for joining us. Oh my gosh, I want to see what you're doing. Can I put my mask on and get closer?
Yeah, of course. Let me put mine on as well.
Show me what's going on here.
So see this little box right here? This is a little piece of equipment that attaches to this little wand right here, and this wand stretches across the trail. It's got an infrared beam in it.
Okay, so I can't see it, but
so you can't see it. It's invisible.
Okay.
But it stretches all the way across, and whenever an animal with large amount of body heat walks by it, like a person or a horse or a bear, it counts that as one count.
Okay, so right now,
1, 2.
Is that going to ruin your data?
No.
Okay, good. That's really cool. And you have other trail counters too, right?
I do. This trail right here, this is one of about 21 counters.
Oh,
that we
21.
have across the park.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And so they're in different regions, and we put them on some really high use trails, like the popular trails like Hidden Lake and Avalanche that see a lot of people, and then we also put them on lower use trails to get information about how use is changing on those more remote areas.
And we're on the Apgar Lookout Trail. Is this kind of what you would say a high use or low use?
I'd say this is about a medium use trail.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And what social science research is generally is the study of people. Specifically, natural resource social science is looking at how people are using the natural environment, and in this case, how people are using parks. So I'm studying where people are going in Glacier, what trails they're using, what roads they're using. And so we've got these trail counters all around Glacier. What we do is get information on which trails are high use, which trails are medium use, and which trails are low use, and different use patterns throughout the season. So in this specific case, we are at a trail where about 10 to 25 people use it an hour. The reason that information is important is because it gives us an idea of what the wear and tear of these trails are, but also the experience that different visitors get when they're on a trail, whether or not they're going to be somewhere where they see a lot of other people or somewhere where they might see no one. And different visitors are looking for different experiences. You might want to be on a trail where you see a lot of people for safety reasons. That might be something that you're looking for. But you might be the kind of person that was trying to find a trail where you don't see anybody. And so looking at the trends on different trails gives managers a better idea of how people are moving around. It also helps them to make management decisions such as what things they might need to put in the parking lots as far as signs for people or restroom facilities. It tells them where to put more staff. So if there's a lot more people using a trail that they also know there's a lot of bears on, there might be more staff that go there to make sure that visitors are safe. And so all of those different things need to be considered when making park management decisions, and this type of research helps the park to make those management decisions.
Okay, so Iree, you said that this trail, the Apgar Lookout Trail, is about a medium use trail. And I think you said it was like 10 to 25 people go every hour across here. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's right, Melissa. So this we consider to be about a medium use trail. There's other trails such as Hidden Lake, which you might be familiar with.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm wondering, like Hidden Lake, how many, if this is 10 to 25, what's Hidden Lake?
So Hidden Lake's actually the highest use trail in the park, and It is open for a pretty short season, and so the use is concentrated. But on a busy day in July, you can see up to 200 people an hour on Hidden Lake
200
Trail.
people an hour. Wow, that is a lot. So that
lot
is
of
the
people.
highest use you said in the park.
That's the highest use
Okay.
trail, so that's kind of the high standard that we are using. We also have some other high use trails you might be familiar with, like St. Mary Falls is a
Yep.
very popular one,
Yep.
and Avalanche Lake Trail.
Oh, Avalanche for sure.
Those
Yeah.
three, you'll see a couple hundred people an hour easily.
Okay, that
And
makes
then,
sense.
but you know, Glacier is a really big park,
Right.
and so there are some areas where you might see nobody all day, or you know, we've got trails where we see one person a day, or less.
Okay, maybe you could whisper those in my ear later.
Yeah.
You know, this has been really eye-opening for me just to hear about, you know, the different trail use and how many people are using different trails in the park and how you count all that data up and then give it to park management. But I'm just kind of curious. I mean, you know, besides hiking, there are a lot of other things that people do here to recreate, you know, from being on the rivers to, like biking. I don't know. There's fishing. There's other things that people do. So I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you count those different kinds of visitor uses? Is there anything you can show us today that would show that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we actually have a variety of other types of equipment. Would you like to go see some?
I would. Do you want to do it? Let's go.
Go.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this car counter that we have on the Camas Road. So it's this little tin box. It's attached to these tubes right here. It's got all these buttons on it. It also tells us some pretty interesting information about the types of vehicles that are using the road and the direction that they're going. So there's actually all these different settings we can use, and it'll tell us if there is an RV going over, or if there's a bike or a normal two-axled car. It also tells us if people are going away from the park or coming into the park and what time of day they're doing it.
Okay, so we are at the Quarter Circle Bridge, and you said you had another counter. You said something with river monitoring. Can you explain where we are, and what we're monitoring?
Yeah, so as you can see, rivers are another place where people like to recreate in and around Glacier.
Yeah,
They're very fun to be on, especially in those hot summer months.
definitely.
So one way that we keep track of how people are using the area is by putting cameras up on the side of the rivers and then counting how many boats come by, what time of year. Then we actually compare that data with other things like precipitation and water flows to give us an idea of the different patterns of people using the river.
Okay.
And so we've got this type of equipment, these cameras up in a variety of different places along the Three Forks of the Flathead, but some of them are up against Glacier, and this happens to be one of those sites.
Right here. Awesome. Okay, so thank you so much. This is really great, and I can tell we have some fun-loving boaters right behind us. So definitely this is a place that gets used quite a bit, and it is a great place. So I'm glad that we are figuring out what's here.
We've looked at road counters, and we've looked at infrared trail counters. The third type of equipment that we use, both for bikes on bike paths and on the rivers, is this game camera. It's a oval camouflage plastic box that opens up, and there's a screen that we can read, and then when it's closed there's a lens on the outside. So this is the third type of equipment, and this is used in areas where there isn't one type of use. So tubes like the ones that were on the road counter you saw earlier capture wheels going over them, bike or car. The infrared counters capture bodies going by, but trails like this one, which is the Fish Creek bike path, have two types of use. There's often people that bike by, but there's also lots of people that hike. Additionally, there's a fair amount of wildlife that uses this area. And so using a piece of equipment like this, we can capture a comprehensive view of the types of use that are on this trail.
So you just told us about how this camera is not only recording people walking by, bikes walking by, but also wildlife that are using this area, just so you can, see how that overlaps. Is that what you're trying to do, or how does that work?
Yeah, so understanding the way people are moving on trails is one component, but another important thing is understanding how wildlife are moving in those same areas. And so both how they're overlapping or how they're not overlapping, how wildlife is using a trail maybe at a different time of day than people are using it. So we've got this camera and we're collecting wildlife data. We're not the only ones collecting wildlife data, so we collect a lot of use on trails and on roads. There's also wildlife folks that we work together with, biologists who study more intricate wildlife patterns. And so we work together with them to understand if there's a lot of people on a trail, what does that mean for the large amount of bears that are in the area, or the large amount of goats that are using that area.
Right.
So if park managers need to make a decision to ensure the safety of the humans and of the wildlife, they could maybe put more staff in that area. Or if we understand that a lot of people are using a trail, but there's also, like I mentioned, a lot of bears in the area, they may just close it down for a while to give the bears some space.
Sure, yes, definitely. And is this camera then recording all the time, or how does that work?
So actually this camera, earlier I showed you a river site that we use. This camera is actually, unlike a lot of game cameras, which are motion censored, but we've purchased these cameras to be used on the river because they take a photo every 3 to 10 seconds depending on the site, which you can't do motion sensor on moving water.
Why is that?
Because
the water's
moving all the
moving.
time.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay.
So we use these cameras originally just on the river, and so they take a photo every 3 seconds, which we then play into a stop motion movie, and then we watch through the movie and we count for boats. But we use the same methodology here, where we watch through the footage, and whenever a person walks by, a bicyclist comes through, or some sort of wildlife comes by, then we just mark it down into a spreadsheet.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I have learned a ton today about the social science that you are conducting, the data that's collected, how it's then used by park managers to make decisions that really affect all of us, staff, volunteers, and visitors, and how we use this park and manage it, not just for people, but also for wildlife. So thank you, Iree, so much for joining us. Look for the beginning of September. We have an exciting science video with Brent Rowley and other archaeologists from the park who are going to show us some pretty amazing things. So stay tuned for that, and let's say goodbye to everyone. Happy Glacier Science Day!